What is going on, guys? This is your boy from the review side, the Bengal Dragon. Make sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button, follow me on Twitter, TanTags01, and hit that bell notification button. Today's movie, we're going to talk about X-Men Days of Future Past 2014. And I'll have to say, boy oh boy, like, folks, in the beginning, I was a bit disillusioned. I was a bit, disoriented, if you will. I was a bit, you could say disappointed, better word, because I wanted the X-Men animated series style of movies. Looking back now, I am so glad I did not get that. At that time, the MCU took the X-Men concept, made it a bit more adult themed, a bit more grown up, and ran with it, and there were some hits, there were some misses, but they created a franchise and they created a style of their own, which is not cartoony. Don't get me wrong, the cartoon is still intense, especially with like Wolverine. And speaking of Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, I'm sorry, he has made this role his own. Look, just like Arnold has, minus the last movie, just like Arnold has made Terminator his own, Hugh Jackman has made Wolverine his own. It's to a point where, like, you know, you associate Wolverine with Hugh Jackman. Okay, speaking of which, Days of Future Past, so far, and I mean so far because I haven't seen Apocalypse, I haven't seen Logan. In fact, Apocalypse, like from what I was recommended, I should watch Apocalypse before Logan, so I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna watch Apocalypse next. Last, I'm gonna watch Logan. And I'm not seeing Dark Phoenix because I've heard some very, very bad things about that movie. Okay, so far what I've seen, this is the best X-Men movie that I've seen. Yes, there are a few plot holes here and there, but overall the strength of this movie is the storytelling. It's the very intricate storytelling. And no, I don't read the comics. Okay. The very intricate storytelling, especially the backstory of Professor X, Magneto, and Wolverine put all together, and Mystique, by the way. In fact, in the Phase 4 or 5 or whatever is next, or like, you know, following Phase 4. They should, instead of a Dark Phoenix movie, they should make a Mystique movie, and which basically looks back into how she became so evil. Because I believe they had some potential in this, like, you know, where they touched on the relationship between Charles Xavier and Raven. How she became this way, it was slowly hinted at previous movies, but I think they should really expand upon this, because we saw a bit more of a anti-hero or anti-heroine type of character in Mystique over here. Okay, speaking of which, the Days of Future Past, the Sentinel concept, very well done. Very, very well done. Like, for the most part. Yeah, at one part, like, okay, Magneto, how are you controlling all these Sentinels and all their powers and all their armor? I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure there's some things you can't control. I'm like, really? You expect the metal around such a huge piece of machinery to hold up? Really? I'm like, okay. In that case, you can wrap the Earth in aluminum foil and Magneto can just rip it apart. Okay, anyways, that was awesome. The whole presentation about why Magneto is doing what he is doing, why Mystique was doing what he's doing, and why Professor Xavier is doing what he is doing. And basically a bit more into the character depth of Wolverine and Hank McCoy. Executed very well. And and to see that it all came back and everything is almost back to normal. In the very end, as a closure, I thought that was a very nice touch as well. Although there are some plot holes which I think should have been followed up upon, like what happened between Days of Future Past and Logan. It should have been followed up upon. Like, you know, in a bit more detail, like, you know, maybe would have if you could have extended the movie like 15-20 more minutes, I would have enjoyed it, because this is one movie like I didn't mind it being that long. In fact, I wanted this to be like without commercial time. With commercial time it was like 3 hours. Without commercial time I wanted it to be like, you know, a 3-hour movie. Because here's the thing, the story was that gripping. It's the same thing with the Wolverine, but done even better. Wolverine, you have Hugh Jackman's intensity and badassery carrying a good amount of the movie, because it was focused on him. In this movie, don't get me wrong, Wolverine was still a badass. In fact, if you notice, as the movies progressed, Hugh Jackman put on more and more muscle mass. If you actually notice that, so that and Wolverine, he's coming more and more of he's coming off as more and more of a badass. So that was portrayed very well. But you had other supporting characters, the characters of Magneto and Professor X and Mystique, holding their weight in this movie. So that I would say is the biggest plus point of this movie. Like I said, the negative points are a few of the plot holes here and there, but overall the story was very gripping. It was a balanced. It was a very good story with the main protagonist holding their weight in execution. That's the best way to put it. And as far as the special effects, I thought the Sentinels looked very cool, and the whole scene about like a dystopian Xmen future was also presented very well. Although there are some plot holes here, and I'm like, okay, how did you get back into that lair and come out and all that? I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what's stopping it from making me give it a higher than an 8 out of 10. Because yes, there are a good amount of plot holes in the movie, but still, overall it was a very enjoyable watch. And this is something, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend you to watch it. And like yeah, if it ever showed up on my TV again, I would actually watch it again. Alright, that's about it, guys. Let me know what you thought about this movie in the comment section below. As always, hit like, subscribe, and bell notification button. It's your boy Tanveer Saad, the Bengal Dragon, signing out.